Join me today as we recreate one of my favorites. Provided that I can source out a good batch, I bring along chili crabs on get-togethers with friends and family, or when I used to visit my grandmother back home. Good day everyone, and welcome to the Urban Casserole. Before we start, don't forget to share, like and subscribe to the channel. The very first thing that we want to do is to get the crabs to spit out all the dirt that they have been keeping inside. Soak the crabs with enough water to cover the top of their shells and add a few tablespoons of salt. Leave it for a couple of hours and you will see how the water turns to gray. While doing this, we can prepare the rest of the ingredients that we will need. Start by taking off the tips of a medium-sized onion, cutting it in half, and peeling the skin off using some fingernail action. This may take a while, but patience, as we all know, is a good virtue. Give it a few slices along the grain and one pass across. We only need it to be coarsely chopped, saving a little of our precious time. Next in line are the finger peppers. I use them over any other kind because I think they give the right amount of heat that I can tolerate. Cut the stems off as they don't add flavor or give any nutritional value. Chop them out the same size as your onions as closely as possible. 7 to 10 pieces of these will give you a mild spicy taste. You can add more if you want a bigger bang to your crabs, and how much of it will be all up to you. Lastly, and I promise you we are very close to moving on to the stove, we will be preparing the base sauce for our crabs. That will be 1/4 cup of brown sugar, or whatever is in reach and readily available, 3/4 cup of oyster sauce, and this is where the tricky part is. Saltiness will depend on the brand that you will use, so you may need to adjust depending on what is on hand. What I have with me is Mamacita's, but if it were Ligam Keys, I will only use 1/2 cup. Finishing it all up is 1.5 cup of water and a good hand mixing to combine everything in. Onto our stove, we will preheat a casserole over medium fire. Add a couple of tablespoons of oil and let stand for a while until it sizzles. Saute your onions together with your peppers and give it some time to absorb the heat and start steaming off a spicy aroma. Add in our base sauce only when the onions start to turn transparent. Give it a little stir to spread out the spices evenly on the base of your pan. This will bring down your temperature very low, so we will have to wait for a minute or two to bring it back up to our desired temperature. That will be when the sauce starts to steam off but not yet simmering. Crabs straight out of the spitting bin can be cooked right away, but I suggest to knock them out unconscious for easier handling and better presentation later on. This is done by letting them sit at the bottom part of your fridge overnight. Be aware that these are live crabs and we want to work on them while they are still out cold and inactive. Arrange them evenly and carefully onto the casserole. Cover and bring to simmer still over medium heat for 10 minutes. Flip them over upside down and simmer for an additional 5 minutes. Then once again, finally flipping them right side up and simmering for 5 minutes more. Steam can burn your hands, so please be careful and wear some gloves. I did not use one today, so take this as an example of what not to do. Simmering or flipping them over for a total of 20 minutes ensures that we do not get a runny crab meat while doing the final preparation. We are almost done and dinner is right around the corner. Turn your heat to low and take the crabs out one at a time. Set them upside down on the chopping board and push down a sharp knife, cutting through the shell, splitting the crabs into two. This is what we are aiming for, a big fat crab cut into two with pinchers still attached. Set them aside on a separate container and continue on with the rest. Please remember that these crabs are piping hot, so use your gloves at all times. Thicken your crab sauce with 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch dissolved in 1/4 cup of water. Let it simmer until we get the desired consistency and bring back in the cut up crabs. Cover and simmer in low heat for the last 5 minutes to allow all the flavors to fuse together before serving. This recipe can also be made with green shells or any type of shells, lobsters, and tofu. For a full list of ingredients, you may refer to the video description below. I hope you enjoyed our recipe for today and see you next time here at the Urban Casserole.